Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
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 Okay. Three Stooges, gotta love them. Pay their little homage. Iesu Domine.
Well, you know, the Three Stooges were so fucking prolific back in the day, and they died penniless.
Yeah.
Fucking. You know who was dating Larry Fine's daughter, I think? Or granddaughter? Fucking the dude from the Stooges, Ron Ashton.
Really?
No shit. I fucking think
Talk
for real.
about a connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
what
weird.
the fuck? I saw a picture of Ron Ashton.
He tracked her down.
Yeah, I know, right?
This is all gonna make sense.
We're gonna make the connection here so everybody knows.
Because Ron Ashton's birthday is one day after mine.
Okay.
And so it was popping up.
Also, one day after my mother's.
Yeah, I know, right? See? And I was like, holy no fucking way. No way.
Holy no fucking way.
Yeah.
Holy guacamole!
Yeah. It was a holy shitballs. Holy shitballs, Batman.
But none of that's what we're here to talk about today, Brock.
No, it isn't. Welcome back to the Drop Culture Podcast. We technically have gone through 2 trips of the imagination so far.
Yes, two of the three.
2 of the 3 of Terry Gilliam's massive imagination. In the Trilogy of Imagination. It's a so-called trilogy, just kind of like the other so-called trilogy that we did.
But he said it
Yeah, he said it.
after the fact.
But then also, John Carpenter said that about his, too.
After the fact.
After the fact.
All of them were after the fact.
They kind of did.
It wasn't like they had...
No.
No
This-
precognition. I'm gonna do a trilogy today.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do 1, 2, and then 3, and they're all gonna be great. And this is all planned out versus, oh, dude, kind of like Douglas Adams' 4 books in the trilogy.
Yes, exactly.
See,
Now-
did it? Yeah. Go.
Oh, I
Go ahead. Go, Gadget Arms.
Nope, I'm done.
Nope, stopped him dead in his tracks. Thank you for playing. Please
Sorry,
exit
That
stage
was a
left.
great show.
It was the Gadget Arms. Sorry.
So, Brock, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Oh, you were done. Can I stick with a fork, too?
No.
Oh.
Did I really interrupt you, Dan? I'm sorry.
That's all right. No worries. No worries at all.
No, yeah, how could you plan this shit?
Well, and that's just the thing is
That
you
amount of
couldn't-
time.
what's really cool about it is it does fit perfectly into a trilogy if you think of it in that regards. But they're such individual movies, just like Carpenter's were.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They don't rely on each other
Yep.
to be anything.
Yeah.
They are completely separate, which is cool.
Yeah, The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and
In the
Mouth of Madness.
yeah.
Each one of those are standalone, but they were done so far apart from each other.
Right.
Just like these were all done in the 80s and a good 3 to 4 years apart from each other.
Well, 82 to 88, right?
Yeah, 82 to 88,
So
because
6 years.
88 was Baron Munchausen.
Right.
80...
2 was, or
Time
81
Bandits.
was Time Bandits.
Yeah, 81 was Time
81,
Bandits.
so
And
7 years there.
Yeah, and Brazil was 86, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, you had this huge breadth of work from Gilliam, but not in the grand scheme of things. It was almost pretty short put together.
Well, in this movie, out of all the movies, like he finally gets a real budget,
No shit.
and then everything goes to fucking hell, dude.
That's what reading and doing the research on this. You feel bad for some of the greatest directors of movies of all time because it seems like they're so ahead of everything, and then they just get fucked. Now, the only one that I can say that might not have really been in that category would have been Kubrick, in only the way that he had the budget and he made everything fucking work perfectly on all of his stuff, and starting with something like Killer's Kiss, and then moving on to all of those little bitty films that he did up until, 2001, which was a fucking masterpiece. You know, he had all the money that he really wanted in the world. He even had Final Cut most of the time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Final Cut
He
is
was
like
prolific.
Yeah. Final Cut was one of those things that I think it's still one of those things that most directors want. They want to be able to go in there and cut their own movie. And there's only been a handful of directors that have had that. One of them was Orson Welles.
Yep.
And his work after Citizen Kane was just nothing shy of imaginative, I guess, too. Because Citizen Kane was so brilliant. How do you top the greatest movie of all time after you're done? Now, Gilliam had worked behind the scenes on a lot of stuff for years and years and years, and then finally got a shot to do his own movies. And yeah, you could see where he didn't plan this out. But now when you look at that context, you look at the life as a kid.
Right. The
Look at
imagination of a child.
Yes.
Sure.
And then you look at the imagination of a grown-up, an
who's
adult.
who's like in a job and like all those societal pressures and all
Yeah.
those things. Sure.
And then you
Conform.
hit Baron Munchausen, which Baron Munchausen is old age.
Right.
So you pick, and it's
the telling
not,
of stories and
Yeah.
the imagination that goes into these kind of like and this is much later, that Big Fish
yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah,
Reminds
yeah.
me a lot of that.
Yeah. No, it really, I mean, because there's a big fish in this one too.
There is a big
Yeah.
fish in this one.
But there's so many different things. I think, and there were different time periods, so they weren't put in the sequence of somebody growing up, but it was at different points of everybody's lives. And especially, I mean, you could really put this context into almost everybody's lives. Because how do you exponentially grow the stories that you lived or somewhat lived to a point to where it's become folklore? And that's pretty much what has happened, especially with Munchausen. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, because didn't the original stories come out when the original Baron von Munchausen was alive? Right?
Absolutely.
Correct.
There was a
Okay.
big hoopla with that.
Well, and
because-
he never contested it though. He was just like, yeah, they made a book about me.
Well, no, he was actually threatening to sue for libel. And the authors of the stories, the fictitious stories using his name, never even admitted to writing them until they actually died.
Oh,
because
really?
it was that contentious.
Wow.
So you start with a beautiful storyline that's already got political intrigue, legal intrigue. What are you doing? Why are you doing? Hey, wait a minute. You're taking my name and I'm going to sue you. That's liable. You're twisting my life. I mean, kind of like today. Nothing's changed since late
No.
18th centuries to today.
I think that's what makes a lot of these movies so contextually relevant, is because you can put yourself in that context with a lot of these imagination movies and you can see how it'll apply to every day. Now, Terry Gilliam uses a lot of social commentary in all of his stuff every time, and I think a smart director generally does that, throws that in because that's their voice. Their voice is the moving picture. So they're like, what am I going to say in this? Subconsciously and consciously, they're going to throw out all these things that they think are wrong, and it's going to end up with this product that you got. Because I think out of all of Gilliam's movies up until that point, of course, like you said, with the budget, with the actors that he had great talent in this movie, and he had the budget to make his visions come alive.
Absolutely.
Compare.
This is definitely you can tell in the filming. Like if you go to Time Bandits, I know some time passed in there as well.
Yeah.
But even Brazil, if you go like special effects wise, the quality of the cinematography,
The sets,
absolutely
man. The only set that I know
huge
of
difference.
that was not really the way it should have been was the moon set.
Yeah.
They basically just took the cardboard cutouts and made it work.
Right.
And it does work. Gilliam is smart enough.
Well, and that's
that
what
he can make
Gilliam's
that
known
work.
known for is like he can do anything with any budget. That was
Yeah.
kind of the deal. Like okay, but even though this went over budget, and that's where we really got into what screwed this movie was because originally most of the deals were made with David Putnam of Columbia. David Putnam got fired during all this, and most of those deals were oral.
Yep.
So I think it was Don Steele that came in after that and was like, no, whatever he said doesn't matter.
Yeah, and see, and that's fucked up for that old regime to basically give somebody their ultimate everything at that point, and then the new regime coming in being like, fuck everything that they did before. They tanked us. we're going to do it this way.
Well,
Kind of shitty.
Even though they ended up, and there's a lot of dispute in this. I think the original budget that they were given was $25 million.
Yeah. 20, 25, something like that, right?
Yeah. It doesn't matter. According to everything, they spent $46.8 million.
Sounds like our government.
But Gilliam said that it was nowhere near $40 million.
Yeah.
So he's like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Which, with all the spin that comes out of this, I kind of believe Gilliam on this.
Yep.
And then when they went to print the movie and put it out there, they made 117 prints.
Yeah, that's nothing.
So an art house film gets...
How in the
an
hell do you
art
make
house
117 prints of a movie like this?
An art house film gets about 400 prints.
Yeah.
So not even
Your
an
distribution
art house
is buried.
release.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On a movie that, regardless, I know there was a lot of change going on there. Sony was involved. There was a bunch of stuff happening at Columbia at the time. You spent the money.
Well,
You already spent the money.
Throw a couple million at it, make enough prints, get out there and try to get your money back.
Exactly. And that's why this movie made $8 million on a $46 million budget.
Well, and that's kind of strange because a lot
Sounds
of
like
these,
the government again.
Yeah.
a lot of these really classic movies that are so great and have become cult classics have been buried. There's so many movies that get buried for fucking personal reasons.
Well, and the
seems like
production company actually had to eat a little bit of crow because I think that they got nominated for 4 Academy Awards.
Crazy. They only made $8 million on that $46 million budget.
Right.
So, and it really comes down to the distribution of that.
Absolutely.
You know, it's
kind
not
of like how Big Trouble in Little China was.
Big Trouble in Little China, Rock and Roll High School.
Yeah.
That one was buried.
Yeah, it was
because they were
buried,
like,
but I would say
there's a lot of movies
Big
that
Trouble
were
in Little
buried.
China was a little higher end kind of a film,
Yeah,
that were like, you're like, what the hell happened in the marketing to this? Which we've
Right.
said that in a million movies that we've covered. It was a lot of it's the marketing.
I think it's like a personal vendetta with these heads of studios.
Well, and
the
that's
only movie,
pretty much what they said was that this Don Steele was just not willing to move
well,
on anything, like they so badly wanted to separate themselves from David Putnam,
Politics.
yeah.
Politics,
Corporate
personal
politics.
reasons, corporate politics, change in regimes.
It's the regime shit. And the one thing that I've noticed too is like the one movie that kind of defied those odds that was was attempted to get buried was Star Wars. Now think
Yeah.
about that. I mean, Alan Ladd Jr. actually gave the green light to that shit. He ended up leaving after that movie was released, and they made the most money with Fox with that fucking movie,
Right.
and it spawned everything.
Billions
Yeah,
and billions.
And Alan Ladd Jr. was like, I gave it a fucking shot, and then he quit
Right.
before Empire. I'm pretty sure, And Alan Ladd, I mean, he was royalty in movie making and stuff like that. Because Alan Ladd was one of the very first people to do a lot of production in movies and stuff. Then his son, being the one that took over after him, they
His
tried
son, Cheryl Ladd.
Cheryl Ladd.
Oh joy. Oh joy.
But it's just strange that movies this great find their legs, and that was the beautiful part about home video, because people didn't have the streaming capability. They didn't have the instantaneous, because again, and this is something that like Bobby said, right? From Not For Everyone, he said, you were committed as fuck.
Oh, when we did the
Yeah. I mean, and that's the truth. It really is. You when you went to a video store, you committed yourself to a video, because guess what? You weren't going to get to go back immediately.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of that until towards the end of video stores, where you could be like, this movie sucks, and they're like, all right, cool, let me do
I don't
this.
remember. I just remember people
Yeah.
being like, "That's your fault for picking that
Yeah,
movie."
exactly. Yeah.
Take responsibility for your choices.
And
Exactly.
I'm still that way with a lot of, because you almost base that on, just like you were buying records and stuff like that, or CDs or anything. You looked at the cover art, and if the cover art intrigued you, 9 times out of 10 it was good enough for you, because that was your
Right.
Those people putting that image out for you. You saw it, just like with movies, right? So I still have that same mentality with the Netflix and shit. So I see those movies and I'm like, oh, that looks like shit. Don't watch it. Oh, that looks like shit. Don't watch it. And then when we do, and it's like shit, I'm like, yeah, I told you it's a blockbuster movie.
Told you so.
It's a bad movie.
Told you this was directed by Michael Bay.
Yeah. But this movie, I remember being at a very impressionable age, of course. I think I was like 9 years old when I saw it, 9 or 10. And just the sheer magnitude and the awesomeness of this fucking movie was great. I never knew anything about it. I thus learned, years down the road that it was an actual real deal. But just, it was fucking so great. And this kind of, and the way I put it to myself last night when I was watching it, this has really made me pay attention to my imagination more. And you can make a great movie with just absurdity.
Before we dig too far into the movie, I want to say that when my daughter was, like 1 year old, I had these video cassettes, and it was cartoons of different stories from different places in the world. One of them was The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, as read by Robin Williams.
Ooh.
And I loved that thing. I was like, yep, this is a cartoon we're watching. And we had another one was done by Sigourney Weaver. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like all different stars doing the thing.
And I mean, really, there were so many parts in this were absolutely absurd, but that was the best part about it. Because, I mean, you immediately, the first time you watch it, you know that he's fucking around. He's these tall tales. You immediately tell it's a tall tale. Just the way that the play's going and things like that. But then at the very end of it, whenever the one dude is like twirling the fucking 3 boats and shit like that, you're like, this is fucking crazy. But it's so great. It's so awesome. The colors in it are fucking great. The fast action that they do, and they didn't rely on any trope of any kind of movie to make this good.
And we finally got Eric Idle on a Terry Gilliam movie.
Yes. Bertold.
Score!
Bertold! He's like, I'm a pretty big criminal? He's like,
well, pretty nasty.
What did you
criminal?
What did you get in trouble for? I don't know.
What makes you think you're a nasty criminal? Well, I'm in here.
And I have these big leg irons.
Guilt by association.
But I mean, and if you look at too his crew that he had with him, which is pretty awesome. He has somebody that has like super breath.
Before you get too far into this, this is very much like the Avengers.
Yeah.
So I tried to break this down. It's not like Justice League, because Justice League has a Superman that can do everything. Right? And that's not Baron Munchausen's role in this.
No, he's
just the luckiest, most charismatic man there is. Which is great. But you're right. Like, so as we get into his group, you got the guy with the super breath and can see really far.
Yeah.
And that's Jack Purvis.
Yeah, super strength.
Yeah.
And he can hear too. Like it's the elements. He's got the elements behind him.
Yes.
Earth, wind, fire, whatever. You know what I mean? It's something like that.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was the hearing that he had.
Yeah, Purvis had the hearing
and the breath.
Yeah, that was his superpower. But the hearing was his main deal.
Yeah.
The dude that could see forever.
He was the sharpshooter.
He was a sharpshooter, but he could see all the way around the world, even though it's curved. Yeah,
when he had the glasses.
Yeah, that too. And then you had the strong dude.
The strong dude.
And then you had the Baron.
And you had Bertold, who could run super fast.
He was like a super fast dude. It was
he
really
ran into the queen.
Yeah, and you think too that that's might have been one of the subconscious things that really grabbed me on it, because it was like a superhero movie.
Right.
It really was. I mean, these guys were their superheroes for the time.
Absolutely. Awesome. In the 18th century, late 18th century.
Yeah, it was weird, and they
fighting
were
the Turks as you do in the late 18th century.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the principles of this movie,
okay,
if you want to. Now, John Neville, I've seen him in a lot of different things. Thus, like The Fifth Element, he was in that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different things. He was the main guy. He was Baron Munchausen, right?
And he was mostly theater before this, right?
Yes, big time. Yeah, I think he came out of movie retirement, to actually work on this. He was born in 1925, so he was already old.
Well, that fits the whole picture. The fur-bound von Munchausen.
But the makeup was fantastic in this movie too. The way that they make him age and de-age and age again and de-age, and I know logistically that's got to be something that you got to be on point with. And
because you're probably trying to do all your filming with the regular, the aged version.
Yeah.
Like, let's do all these together.
And I don't think they did. Right. I don't think they did too, because I think one fact that I read,
they actually filmed this in order that it was
did
shot.
they?
Yeah, I think that was this movie.
Oh.
I think I'm pretty sure actually. Let me double check that while you continue to tell us about people that are on the show.
Yeah, and then he really does carry the film because he's so good. And the thing about seeing him in this movie the first time, I had no fucking idea who this guy was, but he seemed so familiar to me. But I had no context.
No connection.
Yeah, exactly. Because he had stopped making movies in 1970, right? So, or 67, 70, right? So there's no way I would have saw him in anything. But just his familiarity and the way that he carried the film, because he was so good.
Absolutely.
I mean, he really made
I give theater actors props, man, because they're doing that live in front of somebody every day.
Every day.
Sometimes 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he was just fantastic in it. Then you got Eric Idle, right?
Yay.
Which Bertold, you know, he's so funny in this movie. He really is.
He's funny in everything.
Everything
dude. I
that
love
he
Eric
does.
Idle.
Even on European Vacation.
Yes.
He's like, don't worry, it's a scratch. Oh, don't worry. You're American. You know, Sarah Polley, right? Which you know her from Dawn of the Dead remake, which was a very good remake.
Yeah, and she played a kid's role for a long time too. That Ramona from Beverly Cleary.
Yeah, she was more of an independent actress for the longest time until the Dawn of the Dead remake in 2004 or whatnot, 2003, and that was her first really big mainstream movie besides Baron Munchausen, right? Now, this is a guy that I've started seeing so many more movies with him in it, and it's just unusual that he's just popping up more. Is Oliver Reed, right? Now, Oliver Reed was a carousing badass motherfucker, right? He really was.
The only role that I really remember this guy like as a kid from, besides this one, is he played in the Oliver Twist musical as Bill Sykes, and he was a son of a bitch in that movie. And I have sisters, so I had to watch that movie a lot. Like, they like that movie, and it's long enough that it has its own intermission. So, yeah.
Well,
I liked him from Gladiator.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Gladiator, he was really great as the slave owner and the
Yes.
trainer of the Gladiators.
Proximo. He died during the filming of that.
Yeah.
And you know how he died during the filming of that? He went and challenged an entire football team to a drinking contest.
Oh,
and like
badass to the end.
Yeah, and he fucking died after he got done. I think he won too. He was like that badass.
Let's not go away from the fact that the best movie this guy made, besides Baron Munchausen, The Brood.
Oh my God. That's why it's popped up in so many weird ways, because I watched The Brood the other night. What the fuck? I was literally, when she starts licking the baby, I was like, holy shit balls. Me and my wife, because my wife picked it. And I was like, oh, it's Cronenberg, so you'll like this, you know. I've never seen it. And then all of a fucking sudden, I'm like, that's Oliver Reed. I know that dude, right? And that was the first movie. And then now I've watched like 3 or 4 movies in a row with Oliver fucking Reed in it. But that movie, whoa.
Yeah, that's
Jesus
another
Christ.
drop culture episode, maybe.
Yes, oh my God. Because it was just fucking freaky. And Oliver Reed was good. I mean, he was just a badass. He's a badass in everything.
Yeah.
He just seems like he's that dude that could whoop your ass. You know what I mean?
No,
exactly.
not, but would whoop your ass.
He
If he
just
can
whoop
drink
your-
a whole team under the table.
Yeah.
Okay, he's got
Well,
points
that
in my...
didn't really work out for him.
No. Well, he still
details,
won.
details,
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, he
Throwing
won.
it out there.
Okay, bottom line, they got my gold star. Yeah, I'm dying. Hey, peace out, guys. Bye.
He was so awesome in this role too. I mean, I really like how he was he was making intercontinental ballistic missiles, you know. That was fucking so cool, right? Let me see here. Now there's a couple of people that were in all 3 of the Trilogy of Imagination. One of them was Charles McCown. He was Rupert. He was the guy with the eyes, you know, but he was also the nerdy dude, or he was in the Ministry of Information.
Ah, yes.
His next door neighbor that was like, I'm sort of a whiz on this thing.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to fucking use it. He's like, oh, blast it. It's messed up.
Yeah.
And he was the one that turned him in.
Brazil.
Yeah, in Brazil. And then he was also in Time Bandits too for a small role. Okay, and then you got Winston Dennis, which he was in all 3 too, but this was the only time that he actually showed his face.
Okay.
And I think he played the samurai in Brazil. He might have been something else in Time Bandits. I'm trying to see what it was. But the third one was Jack Purvis. right?
Yes.
And Purvis died not too long after this too. I think it was maybe about 5-10 years afterwards, which 97. Yeah. So, wow, his birthday was July 13th, 1937. Yeah. So
he was an old guy.
Yeah, and Purvis he only had a bit role in Brazil. A small bit role where you only see him whenever he's going through the musical part at the very end of that. You see him with the monocle, and it's him sitting there. You're like, holy shit, it's him. But he was he was in a lot of shit. But these are his three main people. I mean, which is crazy for him to pick those three guys.
Yeah, I wonder.
Was it a choice or was it just the circumstances?
Well, I think that it had to be that he enjoyed working with them, or he wouldn't have brought him back for 3 movies in a row. And then this movie, they also saw the return of Jonathan Pryce.
Yes.
Not in all 3 movies, but obviously in Brazil.
The only guy that could have made that was Ian Holm.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Because he was Napoleon in Time Bandits, and he was his boss in Brazil.
Yep.
And then if he was in this one, that would have been cool. That he would have been the other guy. And now Jonathan Pryce was only in these 2, and that's another thing that kind of made me watch Brazil. It was Jonathan Pryce, and I was like, man, I know that dude.
Yeah.
So it kind of led me into watching Brazil after the fact, because I think this was one of the, besides Time Bandits, one of the other first Gilliam movies that I watched, before I knew he was involved in anything else,
I definitely saw this. I think I definitely saw this before I saw Brazil.
Yeah.
No, I saw Time Bandits in the theater on a date.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
My second girlfriend. We went for a date and was like, wow, this is... Because I enjoyed it, but you two know me.
Yeah.
And I've been this twisted for decades.
Just like us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she's like, I don't get this. It's like, just roll with it. And we were still under 21 at the time, so it was like, we can't drink and you can't let the alcohol let it flow through. So you're just going to have to sit in sobriety and try to absorb the lunacy.
And it was lunacy.
It was off the charts. It was great.
And you that leaves an indelible impression on you because of the imagination.
So I have a very quick question. This early girlfriend date situation. Did she like the movie?
I don't think she did.
Damn.
Did you date her more?
No.
Good.
Nice.
No. We broke up soon afterwards. Okay?
Makes sense.
And it was great because it was like, you go your way, I'm going to go my way.
Right.
That's okay.
That's perfectly acceptable.
I mean, it's hard to find a decent, relatively stable female that has a sick, twisted, warped, and depraved side that allows you to go and do certain things, but still maintain a job and pay bills.
I would say that there's probably a lot of females that say that about men as well. And I feel like
we need
maybe
a dating site for this then.
Welcome to Drop Culture Dating Night.
Hey, guess what? Hi, my name is Sean. Hi, Sean.
Let's meet our 3 bachelorettes. But this was also an early Uma Thurman movie.
It was her first one.
It wasn't her first movie. She did Kiss Daddy Goodnight. This also came out the same year as Johnny Be Good, if you remember that movie.
This would have been her first one.
And then Dangerous Liaisons as well.
This would have been her first one because she nailed the audition on the very first try.
Right.
And since it came out after the other movies came out, this technically was like her first role or something like that.
Gotcha.
That she got in a major film, but then it came out too late because it was buried. So Johnny Be Good, which was not that great.
Wasn't that Anthony Michael Hall as a quarterback?
Yeah, and
I went from nerdy nerd guy to super quarterback.
Yeah, with the one dude that was bullying him. Fucking Robert Downey Jr. was in it too.
Yeah, his friend, right?
Yeah. Weird.
But anyways, Uma Thurman plays Venus.
Yeah, and
what a nice Venus she was.
On an uncredited role, Robin Williams.
You mean Ray de Tuto?
Yeah, that basically means king of the universe or something like that.
Nice.
And Sting was in it too. Which Sting, like I said, we were watching Dune here recently, And then when he pops out of the fucking fridge or whatnot on Dune, and he's like, "Oh, stretch." You're like, "What the fuck is the matter with that dude?"
Still have never seen Dune.
You never seen it?
We have this discussion like once a month, sir.
Yeah, probably.
You
and I
told
always
me to
forget.
wait until the new one comes out and watch that one because I'll probably enjoy it more. That's what you told me.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you probably got it on tape too.
Probably have it on. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's
recording.
probably-
I was like, I know, I don't own the movie at all. What the fuck are you talking about?
Context, please. Context.
Well, I think he was neighbors with Gilliam, and that's how he got put into this movie.
Okay.
He was a neighbor with him.
Hey, Stig, I got an idea here. Can I borrow you for a second? Jump and do this and do that and do something else. Great, you're hired. Be on set tomorrow, 7 a.m.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
Well, that's how Robin Williams was.
Yeah, and he was awesome in this movie too, by the way, which Robin Williams is good in everything he's in.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about where Terry Gilliam got the idea to do this movie. George Harrison actually gave him I don't know if he gave him the book or told him about it, and then somebody came and brought it back up to him another time and gave him a copy of the book.
Well, because Harrison.
So I thought that was pretty interesting because George Harrison was the producer on Brazil.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, on Time Bandits.
Time Bandits. That was his production company. He put
Right.
up all the money for that shit,
Right.
wrote the song, and he was pissed off at him. So Harrison, yeah, like fucking.
Yeah. So I
for
mean,
real.
obviously they were pretty tight for a while. You know,
yeah, and-
even though he had to put in George Harrison's song that he didn't want to at the end of Time
Yeah.
Bandits.
It was kind of odd to have that song at the
Yeah,
very
it
end
really
of
was.
Anyway.
It didn't fit it, but whatever.
But yeah, like Robin Williams flew in and went to set like the next day, even jet lagged and everything, and did the whole fucking thing. Which is, I mean, Robin Williams.
Robin
What's Robin
yes,
Williams?
yeah.
Come on.
I mean,
Can you just go out there and be Robin Williams? Oh, by the way, you're king of the universe.
That's right. Which for him is like, well, of course.
Yeah, of course I am.
Hello.
What I really love about Gilliam's these three movies is he has an absolutely classic actor in every one of these movies, right?
Absolutely.
So Time Bandits, he has Sean Connery.
Right.
And you're like, what the fuck is Sean Connery doing in here? He always has a what the fuck actor in there.
Absolutely.
Brazil, fucking Robert De Niro. You're like,
Yep.
holy shit, fucking Robert De Niro, right? And then in this one, you have Robin Williams and like, fucking connected. You know what? I know these guys, you know? That's
Well,
the
it's
cool
smart.
part about
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
it's smart. You know these are in the zeitgeist of what's, movies, and it's just one role.
Yeah, and they're not used to
Right.
where they're on the poster.
Right.
Right.
They're
You
not
know?
used to sell the movie necessarily.
But they're there
actually-
to carry it out and make the connection.
But all of those
subliminally.
people
Yeah.
really badly wanted to be in a Terry Gilliam movie.
Yeah. What's that
Like
to say
Robert
about
De
him?
Niro was
Yeah.
like didn't even get the role he wanted, and he was like, "Yeah, fine, I'll do this.
Yeah, I'll do whatever you
I'll do
want
whatever
to.
you want me to.
Whatever
do."
you want, fine.
Yeah.
Just get me on tape. Just do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get me on celluloid.
And
So
that,
I mean, that speaks a lot to Terry Gilliam. in
yeah,
my
to who
opinion.
your deal is.
Yeah.
Because I know Christoph Waltz was the same way when he did the Zero Theorem
Yep.
movie, and anybody that was in that movie too. But see, and I don't know. It's just I think that having those connective tissues, to the American cinema, but also the British cinema with all the other people, is a very, very good thing that Gilliam does. Like, of course, like I'm trying to think of the really big actor that he would have had in Fear and Loathing, and I'm trying to think all these bit roles. He had so many fucking people. It's not Peter Coyote, but I'm trying to think of all these little bitty roles that he had in all of his movies that you're just like, holy shit, how did he get him?
Right.
That's fucking cool as shit. So you want to get into the movie?
Sure.
Well, of course, this movie starts off during a siege because it's Tuesday, so it's more bureaucracy,
Yes.
which is really cool because he literally, it's Jonathan Pryce, which in Brazil was all about the bureaucracy and then ended up defying convention and going against it. But in this one, he's the bureaucrat that's fucking like, oh, it's Tuesday, let's do this, And then they also have that scene, just like in Time Bandits too, where they have the plays going.
Right.
So it's kind of like this weird Napoleonic Wars, and then this type of a weird deal. And they always have like the stage guy behind, just like, oh, please, Which I mean, they really get into this Munchausen deal, and you can tell that. they're having a hard time with it too.
Right.
And the main guys, because Sarah Polley, I mean, she walks by and she has to mark off the and sons deal and daughter, and she's like, "What's this?" So you get to meet all the principal characters in the whole movie. So they kind of bring them in, but then all of a sudden the Baron shows up, right? Because it's right after like Sting shows up and he's like, "Oh, he saved so many people," and he's like, "Kill him."
Yes.
What the fuck? He was a heroic
He did all
soldier.
these things.
Yeah. They're
Kill
like,
him.
Yeah, go ahead and kill him. We don't want people actually winning the war. So it was like almost like a 1984 thing. Like you got to fight, and this war's got to go on for everybody to keep going. You know, for some reason,
We
it's like,
only know war. We must keep the war going. Well, look at today. You
Yeah.
know, what can I tell you?
Come on. I mean, that's a huge thing, which I think is fucking hilarious too, because he's putting that shit in all of those movies, capitalism, everything like that, and it
Absolutely
makes perfect fucking sense. Like we were saying, you put that contextually in our modern history, and you see what we got and shit. You know?
Absolutely.
It's fucking nuts, you know.
So this is where he breaks into the play, breaks everything down. And of course, they're getting blasted.
They're getting shelled.
Yeah, shelled at the time. And I absolutely love the story that he tells.
Yes.
So, you know, he's like, "No, I'm the real deal Holyfield." He didn't say that because that wasn't, you know,
Yeah.
around yet.
Well, he hadn't won the championship yet.
No. But at any rate, but this is where we get to see his group of his league of extraordinary gentlemen.
Pretty much, yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, of course, we have Berthold, the world's fastest runner. And what was the bet that they made together?
It was a type of like port or wine or something
it was a
like
bottle
that.
of wine
Yes, a
from
bottle of
and,
wine
and,
and port.
and he was like, "Oh, well, we made a wager. It was basically, if I can get you the best bottle of this
in so much time,
in
right?
an hour's
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
you know, then I can carry I could go into your treasure room and
whatever the strongest man can carry out.
exactly, but he doesn't know he has the strongest man because he basically says the Sultan knew of him but didn't know him. So they're in that weird fucking bath with all the big women in it and everything, and they're all eating and playing and shit. He's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then what? The one part is his musical that he was doing.
Yes.
He's got the piano and he's I was a pauper, you know, and he's like, and he's turning the deal and they're like, "Oh, ooh," and it's full of fucking dudes in the back getting stabbed and shit. But it's the story. That's where it kind of got the ninjas deal from, I guess, subconsciously, because I recognized it. I was like, "Holy shit, that's fucking ninjas!" It was basically about that, you know,
Right.
not wanting to be something. And so he whistles at his horse, and his horse basically just comes out of fucking nowhere every time.
Yes.
And he jumps down, and he's like, "Okay, so I need you to go take this." Oh no, Berthold comes up there.
Yeah.
And he's lumbering around, and he's like, "Okay." And then he runs and fucking tears up the marble and fucking pew,
Gone.
he's gone. But then he's getting kind of nervous. He's like, "I better go outside." And he jumps out the window, and fucking they're all there. He's like, "Where is he?" And he's like, "Oh, I hope he hasn't gotten to the drink yet." And then Purvis puts his ear down, and he's like, "Oh, he's over there. He's about 9 hours away or something like that. 90 minutes or 90 miles or something."
away,
Yeah. He's like, "Huh." And he sees him, and and home dude Purvis or the other dude looks at him and is like, shoots the apple, and it falls right down on his head. And he's like, "Oh." Oh, and then he's fucking got to run there. But it's so funny because the little dude that was directing the blind, the fucking blind executioner, and like the guys, like they have those little comedic moments throughout the whole thing. And he has a pen in his head and shit too. That's fucked up. You know, he pulls out the pen and he's like, writes some shit down, writes it. And it's that last one grain of sand that pops down. It's like ding, 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 ding. And he's like, "Oh, there you are." He's like, "You win."
Right.
So yeah, then they actually get into the treasure room, and the world's strongest man is with him.
And so we should have prefaced this because before he tells the story, he tells them that he's the one that started the war with the Turks. And this is the reason why.
Yes.
Because the world's strongest man takes all of their treasury.
Yeah.
All of
And
it.
carries it out in a giant cube.
Yeah, he puts it all
All
on-
mine.
Yeah, and then home dude, like the guy with the eyes, like grabs the one coin and gives it to the dude. He's like, "Sire." He runs up and he's like, "No, you need to go check this out." And he's fucking carrying everything. And then that's when you see the hot breath happen, and they blow the dude's back and shit like that. Yeah, and the world's strongest man carries off all the treasure, but you don't really get to see much more of it because they start getting shelled again, and they're back in modern times, you know. And that's when like they get shelled so bad that he almost dies, right?
Well, we see the angel of death over him, and Sally Salt, which is what was her name? Sarah Polly.
Sarah Polly.
Yeah. So she comes up there and disturbs, like the angel's about to take the life force out of him.
Yeah, death wants the Baron.
Yes,
He really does.
as we see throughout this whole thing, but he always just barely lucks or nicks, in the nick of time, gets away.
That's a cool narrative that they have going throughout it because his death is always on his heels.
Absolutely,
And death is
well,
always
and at
around
the very end, we get a great line about that. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
When we get there.
Well, this is whenever he hops on the fucking. He accidentally puts in the deal because he's like, "Why don't you fire back?" And they're like, "It's Tuesday."
Sorry, that's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Well, because she runs out like yelling at the Turk. She's like, "Stop it! Stop it!"
Yeah,
The little
she
girl.
she runs up to the top of the deal, and then
he follows.
Yeah, and they were supposed to not be firing that day or some shit like that.
Right, because it was Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking weird. And then then he hops on one cannonball. He just holds on.
A mortar, yeah.
Yeah, and then goes all the way across, and then hops on another one to come back, and he lands, and she's like, "Oh my god, you're fucking for real."
You are Baron Munchausen.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to convince everybody on the inside.
Well,
know?
what's great about that too is she's like, "He went like 5 miles, and he's like, "No, I didn't."
Yeah, yeah.
And like
She's
just
like,
totally
"Quit
shuts her down. He
lying."
doesn't talk about like what it is. It's just enough for her to get like all frustrated and run off.
Well,
And then he's like, "Well, it was only like 1.5 miles, and
Yeah.
then technically I didn't fly."
yeah, I just held on to each one of them, and I wrote it back.
Right.
So he validates everything, but then at the same time, he doesn't like admit to
And then they start
the
getting-
extravagance. Of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they start getting shelled again, and then all of a sudden those girls are all like, "Save us!"
Yeah.
we believe it.
Yeah, Uma, the other two, which they all pop up throughout the whole
Right.
movie, except for the woman with the baby. I don't remember where else she pops up at.
I'll wait for you.
Yeah, okay. Wait,
You
yeah,
and your kid, get out of here.
because the older lady ends up being the Queen of the Moon.
Right.
Uma Thurman ends up being Venus. And then I don't know what happens to the other. What she becomes.
I don't remember.
But yeah, though, he's like, "So if you want me to save you, give me all your knickers or something."
Yeah.
They're
And they're all like, "Huh?"
Yeah, but they have a lot.
Well, I think they got the knickers from all over town.
I
or
guess
that section
so.
of town because all those people were out there.
'Cause
And that's
he-
the only time that we've ever seen an old man get that many girls to drop their knickers, except for a Rolling Stones concert.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, she only played one part, I think. Yeah, I think she was only in one part, so she didn't play another woman of his affection except for the woman that was there.
Right.
So she was like the middle-aged woman in that part. So you had the young, middle, and then you had the older lady. So yeah, she's like, "Where are we going?" Because she stows away. Sarah
Yeah.
Polly stows away.
Well, he's going to take her back, and then she's like, "You can't do that. We'll be right in the middle of the Turks."
Yeah, and they look down. They're like, "Huh, damn."
Shit.
So then they're doing that whole kind of like flying in the like. They're up there with Buckaroo Banzai pretty much.
Fly me to the moon.
Yeah, so they're up and they're going to the moon because that was the last place he saw Bertold.
Right.
He's got to go get his crew back together. He's getting the band back together. So I like how they end up on the moon because it's a storm, right? And they end up sliding on the fucking moon, right?
As one does, yeah.
Yeah,
That's how
right.
you get to the moon. I don't know.
Right. And so they're up there, and then fucking Robin Williams traps him. The head of the King of the Moon traps him, and he's going fucking nuts, right? And he's talking about how he's omnipotent and how he's in charge of everything now, and not just the Earth. He's like part of everything. It's like the Baron's been there before. He kind of knows.
Yeah. Well, because he tried to take off with his girl.
Yeah, and
the Queen of the Moon.
And Baron doesn't he explain the context of their relationship? Their heads they detach for intellectual pursuits, while their bodies are more carnal pursuits.
Yeah, so the whole time you see Robin Williams' body chasing after the Queen, trying to hump her and stuff like a dog.
But he's out there trying to be more intellectual.
Right. I'm back, baby. And he wants to eat, and fucking he's eating mangoes all just gross and shit. Yeah. But they the Queen comes to save him, and because she's still fucking in love with him.
Well, of course she is. It's the
and
Baron.
He's always got these really nice roses in his fucking breast pocket.
As you do when you're the most charismatic man in the world.
So he gives her a rose, and she climbs up, and then they're trying to get free because they end up with Bertold, inside the fucking the cage. They're in there because Robin Williams, his head and his body come together, and they actually catch him, and they're like, "All right, you tried to leave with my girl, eh?" And so, he's speaking Italian in a weird way. It's like an Italian dude in the moon, but it's weird, right? And I love the whole staging of the way everything is. It's very, very blue and kind of stark because it's all black everywhere.
Right.
And,
and then he ties a rope to the moon.
Yeah, to the top of the moon because it's only a fingernail moon at that point. Yeah. It's like a half moon.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things is when they're climbing down the rope and he hands him another rope and he's like, "Well, where'd you get this?" He goes, "I cut it from the top, of course."
He's like, "Huh,
yeah, sure.
Good idea."
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. What was I thinking?
Yeah, and that was the thing is he always had these very extravagant ways to do things. He's like, "I cut it from the top, stupid," and he's like, "Huh." And then they fucking fall down to hell pretty much. They're down in Hades. And that's the funny part about Oliver Reed's character because they're doing stock market stuff. He's like, "I'll give you 2%," and he's throwing shit, and it's like, bing, it's hitting stuff, right? And you're down in the bottom of hell. But the dude is so sensitive, right?
Vulcan?
Yeah, Vulcan. He's completely 100% sensitive. He's like, "Would you like some... what does he call tea? Something."
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think when we first see Oliver Reed, that was a really cool scene because him and the Salt Girl are really small.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, "We're all big and strong up here." And then he grabs him by the hand and he comes up and he's normal size.
Yeah.
What?
He's like, "We're all giants." And then they all kind of stare at each other
we're all giant and strong. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just like, "Huh.
Oh, you're the same size as us.
You're actually taller. This is weird." And then and then whenever they're making the tea too, I love it how even Sarah Polley's like, "Huh, this is really good." Yeah. He's like, "Have you met my wife?" And he's so totally fucking into his wife. He's like, "Oh, yes." And he makes the fucking diamond because that was a recreation of the painting of the birth of Venus or whatnot.
Right.
And so she even gets the diamond. She's like, "Oh, it's another diamond." And they throw it into the fucking corner and it's full of diamonds. And of course, Baron moves in on his old lady right in front of him.
That's what Baron does.
I know.
He's a ladies' man.
Bertold dancing in that scene where he's doing the foot over foot flop. I don't know what the fuck. He's like, "Look at me."
And at this point, don't we have an age shift? Because he's younger now.
Yeah, he goes a little bit younger by the time he gets down there. Yeah. But, Oliver Reed or Vulcan is basically he's suspicious. Even though they're dancing with the cherubs and flying and shit like that, he's suspicious. He doesn't know what's going on. And then Sarah Polley's like, "Hey, we got to keep going, fucking bastard. Let's go."
So he drops him in the ocean.
Yeah. So they gotta so he throws him in a weird fucking tide pool type deal with all the Cyclops around and shit. It's like the Cyclops are working for him and they're making, because he does talk about the intercontinental ballistic missile. Right. He's like, "Well, why would you need that? Does it kill all the enemy?" And he's like, "Yeah." "Well, wouldn't you want to push one button and kill all of them?" And they're like, "Huh." Well, so it was a little bit more social commentary on that part of it.
Right.
But when they end up, that's another kind of a throwback to Time Bandits too, because they end up doing the upside down stuff, to where they're upside down in the water. And they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then they turn over and the fucking giant ass fish, which they alluded to at the very beginning.
Right.
They had the fish in there, and he's like, a modicum of snuff is always handy. And they get in there and he's given up because he's already de-aged at that point too. Right. He has nothing left. And Adolphus is his horse, right? I think so.
No, Bucephus is his horse.
Bucephus, yeah. Adolphus is somebody else. I forgot.
Adolphus is one of his boys.
One of his dudes.
Yeah.
And, well, they're in a boat inside of a giant fish.
And there's like a whole society under there.
Yeah, there's like a whole bunch of people playing cards. What do they eat? They got
whatever
a fire.
comes through.
Yeah.
They're like, well, krill, just cook it up.
Mm-hmm.
Some kelp, it's good.
Well, because that fucking fish eats everything, right?
Exactly.
It's got a smell in there.
It's like macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
Can you eat some of that, please?
Studebakers.
Studebakers.
Okay, here comes a 48 Stude. Yeah,
it's a Studebaker's dozen.
Oh,
you know what's funny though? You guys just came up with that, right?
Yeah.
That was the name of my band a long time ago.
Studebaker's dozen.
No shit.
Well, there you go.
No
Great
shit, dude.
minds
That's
think
where it
alike.
came. That's what,
How many years ago was that?
2003.
Okay.
17.
Well, I'm really on the
years
same
ago.
level as you were 17 years ago.
Yep. Thank you.
That's more of a modicum of where I was at. I was still watching Baron Munchausen. What is that? 17 years? Jesus Christ. 17 years? Fuck, man, I'm old.
Hey, you speak for yourself.
I know,
okay?
I am speaking for myself. I fucking didn't realize that was that long ago.
You
It was
betcha.
that long ago.
Yeah, we only had one record, but we were under a different
Was it
name
good?
at that point. Yeah, it was actually good.
Cool.
Yeah. I thought so because I fucking made up a lot of the songs.
I thought it was good because it was mine.
I thought it was great.
The best rock album ever.
Channeling the
It
Baron.
was called
I
a
see.
modicum of stuff.
A modicum of snuff.
It's a modicum of stuff.
Oh, it's a Studebaker's dozen.
That's right.
Hi-yo.
Oh.
All right, so we've definitely digressed.
So,
Digress. We got off the train and went to a different lake.
Yeah.
but what's funny is that was real. I'm not joking. That we were a real band called Studebaker's Dozen. Okay, so we're still in the fish, and he meets his other two people. They're in the fucking fish,
As they would be.
Yeah.
I mean, where else would they be?
He gets thrown out, and because this big dude was with Vulcan, and he was so dainty, and he's like, they treat me differently because I'm so small, but yet he's the biggest dude there,
Right.
And he's the one that's wearing the wig and shit like that, and fucking he gets thrown away, and he's like, please hold on, please, and whenever they're about to throw him out. So they get, he's in there, and then of course the other two guys are in there, and he's like, do I hear the Baron? He's like, the Baron. That dude's voice is awesome in that part.
And they're
too.
old as shit.
Oh
now,
my god, everybody's like fucking old.
Yeah.
Because we see from Eric Idle. Eric Idle's like fucking ancient. He
Right.
doesn't even remember where he was at. And then even the big guy was like, I don't have any more of the treasure. I spent it. I lost it all. So that's why he became like an indentured servant for Vulcan or whatnot. Because he was already the strongest dude, right?
Right.
So I guess they like to belittle him or something. It's weird. Make him serve tea.
Yeah. As you do.
Yeah. So they're all in there playing cards, and then Death deals a card out, and
Yeah.
it's Venus.
Isn't that like the fourth time that we see Death, I think, at this point?
Third, because I think he's flying whenever they're in the storm.
Well, we get see him when he's
Oh,
almost
yeah, that's
dead.
right. Yeah.
We see when he's flying on the cannonball.
Yep.
Because one tries to take a swipe at him.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And so that'll be number 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's dealing the cards. He's dealing fate to him, and then he's like, fuck it, let's go. So I mean, his horse comes out, and that pretty much wakes him up. And he's like, all right, let's do this shit. So he pulls out the snuff, and they throw it out or blow it out, and the thing fucking sneezes.
Blow this mother out.
Yeah, and they all land in the boat, which is kind of
As
cool,
you do. Yeah.
right?
Luckiest man in the world.
Yeah, but none of the other fucking sailors or pirates in the inside of the fish make it. It's just them.
The luck of Baron Munchausen.
Yeah, right. So that's crazy. So they finally
And
get out.
Adolphus, by the way, is the guy with the gun.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So they're somehow right by where they need to be because they go up to shore and they start firing on them. Those dudes do. The Turks do. So they're like, all right, let's end this. Let's take them out. And he's like, we can't do any of that.
Yeah, because they're all old
We're
as shit.
old. I'm old and I can't do that. So they're all afraid to, and they don't really want to do anything. The only one that wants to is Adolphus.
Yeah.
He wants to go fight for everybody, and he's willing to sacrifice again for the Baron.
Well, and after Baron gives that stirring speech, and then he leaves, and he goes to like give up
Yeah.
to the Grand Turk, right?
Yeah. He's like, I'll end this right now.
I started this war.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of here.
Because they all because yeah, fucking Eric Idle's like, I still can't swim.
Right.
And he's crawling up the fucking boat and shit. So they get to that point, and he's about to go give himself up, and then that's when the fucking whole war starts again with them against, because he's about to get his head chopped off, and
that's
fucking
when all the groups comes to save the day.
yes.
Hell yeah.
Still, one of my favorite parts of any movie ever is when Eric Idle's running. In that first one, he's like, go, because he's about to get shot, right?
Right.
And he sees it coming, and he's like, oh, okay. And he runs down the fucking hill really fast, and he trips, and fucking boom, he falls down. And then he's got to go run to catch the bullet. So he's about to take that dude out, right?
Right.
But then he shoots, and he's like, oh. He's going to do the backup thing, and it's pew. But it still makes me laugh to this day, like laugh out loud, is whenever he grabs a bullet, and he's like, ah. It's like so fucking hot and shit. So he ends up outrunning the bullet and knocking it down. And then when the Baron sees him, he's like, get up.
Right.
Why don't you help? This is a war. He's like, ugh. And then you got the little guy. He actually starts blowing the Turks away, and until he starts sucking in because he's got to get his breath back. He brings them all forward, and then he fucking blows them even more away.
Right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. And then then you got fucking the big guy, because Baron's going through like wiping everybody out on a horse. He makes a carousel, fucking chops everybody's heads off, fucking goes crazy, right? And then the what's his name? The head Turk, the Sultan.
The Sultan, yeah.
Yeah, the Sultan, he gets carried away. And at the same time, what's his name? Jonathan Pryce they were making a deal to keep fighting and doing all that. That's
all
shit.
They want to do is continue the war.
Continue the war, and so he ends up escaping. He's got those really cool fucking sunglasses,
right?
So they defeat the Sultan, and everything's cool, right? But then all of a sudden, they're what was it? They were basically like coming back into town, right? And they were
having a parade.
Yeah, they were having the parade for him, and he gets shot out of the blue, right?
By Jackson, that son of a bitch.
Yeah, by Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of almost like he almost gets away with it, right? But then all of a sudden he wakes up, and it's fucking, and they're all on the fucking stage.
Yeah.
And you could tell everybody's like disoriented. Like all the cast is like, what the fuck?
Weaved a wonderful tale of the imagination.
To where everybody was a part of, and they were like, we're just waking up. It was kind
mass
of
hypnosis,
Yeah.
so to speak.
And then they're like, let's go outside.
Well, this is where we get that great line. This is only one of the many occasions on which I met my death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone who had a talent for it lived happily ever after.
Well, I like how they're going outside and shit like that, and fucking and of course, bam, they're good. Everything's
the city's
good.
Been saved.
Yeah, the city has been saved. The Baron. So,
and that girl's like, it wasn't just a story. And he gives her a little winky.
Bing, bing.
Wink, wink.
Yeah,
wink.
that was the thing from the trailer that was always so awesome. You'd always see a smile.
Yeah.
You'd always see a smile and ding. Yeah, but I mean, overall, just with the way they ended, it's all really big and loud and like yub nub. I'm a yub nub guy. I'm not a fucking. I like the yub nub from Return of the Jedi more than anything. It's the best ending in my opinion.
Well, you're not wrong.
Yeah, so they have a yub nub moment and fucking, I mean, they're killing it. But he doesn't he finally die or no?
No, he rides off on his horse.
Yep.
He dies at the end of his story, but then you wake up and it's normal time. Yeah,
Yeah, because death shows up, and
but everything's been saved.
Yeah,
and
he wins.
Yeah, he's Baron Munchausen.
Almost like Don Quixote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
kind
absolutely.
of in the same kind of vein of Quixote, and which is unusual because again, fucking Gilliam did a Don Quixote movie with Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah,
and it just came out last year. Yep. So yeah, it's these tall tales, and that Don Quixote movie wasn't as elaborate and as good as this one, but he'd been trying to make it since then, I think.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that.
Not bad.
I thought it was interesting. You know, we talked a little bit earlier about how this got nominated for 4 Oscars. Best art direction, lost to Batman. Best costume design, lost to Henry V. Best visual effects, lost to The Abyss. Best makeup, lost to Driving Miss Daisy.
What was the last one?
Hell,
Best makeup, lost to Driving Miss Daisy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's
sad. So that was in 1990 because I don't know how that works. Whatever. It won 3 British Academy Awards, film awards, best costume design, makeup, and production design. But it even lost the British Academy Film Award for best special effects to Back to the Future 2.
Oh, ouch.
Man. You know, and this movie had a lot of fucking great practical effects.
Hold on. I'm not done.
Oh.
But wait, there's more.
So, it was nominated in 91 for 4 Saturn Awards. Best costumes lost to Total Recall. Best fantasy film lost to Ghost. Best makeup lost to Dick fucking Tracy.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Best special effects lost to Back to the Future Part 2. Really, the only thing it won was the Italian National Syndicate of Film Journalists Silver Ribbon for Best Cinematography, Costume Design, and Production.
Well, how many awards
That's a
was it
lot,
nominated
though.
for?
You know what I mean?
48 awards.
Yeah,
or
but
something?
it's like it lost it all. And a lot of them are really good movies.
Great
don't
movies.
get me wrong.
Yeah.
But still,
It was actually nominated for a Hugo Award too, but it lost to Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which I agree.
Again,
good
again,
movie.
there's
Good movie.
a lot of fucking award nominations.
Yeah.
And I mean no wins. I mean that speaks volumes for the material.
Yeah. And they made a cartoon or a comic book adaptation of this too. Now Comics did in 1989. It's like a 4-part miniseries.
Huh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where because I remember I was reading a lot of comics back then. Nope, I don't know.
I don't remember that comic at
neither.
all.
No,
I just happened.
no.
I don't even know where I saw that at. I just
Yeah.
saw it on one of the websites.
Yeah. No, but overall, this is the movie that really, like, I had already fallen in love with movies to the point where, I mean, everything was there for me. But this movie right here was just so whimsical, and I knew it could be fun. It didn't have to be serious to be fun.
Right. This and man, even modern day, you know, like you think about like when it came out at the time, even Roger Ebert said great things about it, and how often did that happen? And I'm not validating Roger Ebert, but he was a known critic, obviously, you know, Siskel and Ebert, all that jazz. But even now, like the ratings for it on like all your aggregator websites are all 90% or above, you know.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
no, people loved it.
I don't mention any of their names because I think they're all bullshit.
Yeah.
But
honestly, if you think if this movie wasn't buried the way it was, it probably would have done really well.
I think so. I think that it would have probably easily doubled its money and been easily probably been $100 million movie.
Oh, at least.
And I'm just
and
saying,
gotten the recognition it deserved.
Exactly, and that's being conservative.
Yeah,
at $100 million.
And for back then, the only movie that was doing that much was Batman.
Yeah.
You know, Batman in 1989. I don't know how much that made, but that was huge.
Well, I think that based on how much money they spent on this movie, it was like one of the 3 or 4 most expensive movies ever made at the time.
Wow. 46 million though. That was
48.6 according to those numbers, but again,
we don't really know what's the real on it because obviously Robin Williams did
46.8. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Robin Williams didn't make any fucking money off of it, but there were so many people that it was a labor of love for.
Exactly.
Because again, it was Gilliam. I mean,
I think Robin Williams did okay making some money though.
Yeah, I think he was okay. That
Since
movie,
when they came to him,
so.
when they came to him and said, "Hey, you want to do Aladdin?" He's like, "Yeah, but I don't want any money. I just want a Picasso."
Yeah. Yeah.
He had enough money already.
Well, I mean, that movie he did
You
called.
think?
I think everything was paid for by that movie RV.
Get the fuck out of here.
He made so much money off of that shit. I mean, fuck.
Good Lord.
I mean, he made more money than
Dude,
Flubber.
he had that Mork and Mindy money. Come on.
I know, right? Yeah, Mork from Mork shit.
Hey, took place in Denver.
Oh, did it? Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
right. That's right. That's
God,
right.
yes.
But
I could do a whole episode just on Robin Williams' career. That would be awesome.
yeah. I mean, he's one of those people that I think he again offered the validity to it, but at the same time for American audiences. But I think the Neville guy was fucking awesome in this movie.
Oh, 100%. He was. I think with all of his castings for his main characters were super solid, dude.
Yeah.
In all three of those movies.
Jonathan Pryce being the main person in Brazil, amazing. Jonathan Pryce embodied that character so much. Even the guy that played Randall in fucking Time Bandits,
Yes.
fucking incredible actor. You know, he was a great actor. You know, of course, you know, with his size, he was kind of pigeonholed in a lot of roles, but I think he actually did, in turn a lot of that into his dramatic part. But he was a victim of self-suicide with gunshot, you know, so it's fucking kind of crazy.
Sad.
Yeah, it was sad.
Very sad.
Because, again, every one of the people that he picks, there's a familiarity to them that is not that you've seen them before. It's just the way that they portray themselves is you know them. And that's the great part about his movies is you do. And I'm not going to really say that about like Fear and Loathing, because Fear and Loathing, everybody knew those people.
Right.
Except for Benicio del Toro. He wasn't as big as he is now. You know,
I don't know. He had already done Usual Suspects,
but he wasn't a huge actor,
Okay.
you know, compared to what he is now.
That's fair.
So him getting thrown in there, he was a familiar character in that too. So he's got a way of throwing that, and for him to use like Johnny Depp, which Johnny Depp lived with Thompson for, you know, months at a time.
In his basement, right?
Yeah, had him shave his hair, everything like that, right? Just like fucking Bill Murray did for Where the Buffalo Roam. You know, I mean, they all lived together, but Del Toro in that movie his character was the one that you paid attention to the most. Put your hands where I can see them. It's so fucking crazy. But Gilliam has that gonzo way of making films, and his films are gonzo. So to make that, you know, Hunter S. Thompson movie is fucking perfect for him.
I know that, you know, we talked about that too, is Robin Williams, you know, he was somebody that brought in, you know, someone that you were familiar with.
Yeah.
But I think really he only had a couple big movies before this. It would have been like Popeye was his first one, I think, right? Or right up there. I think he was in something else before that, but that was like his main role first.
What was
and
his...
then The World According to Garp was like 1982.
Yeah, that was his first breakout dramatic type of a deal.
And I think the only other one that I can think of in between there was Good Morning Vietnam, which was a year before The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. So he would have been like in the zeitgeist, because that was obviously a pretty well received movie as
solidified his star.
Yeah.
Vietnam, Good Morning Vietnam was the one that people started paying attention to him more.
Well, yeah, and then he like smashed that when he got, you know, like what was it, 2 years later? I think he made Dead Poets Society, and then it was fucking over.
Yeah.
You're like,
well,
this guy.
even before that, because the next Terry Gilliam movie was The Fisher King. And The Fisher King is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Fisher King didn't come out until 91.
I know. It was after the fact. And The Fisher King was such a fucking fantastic movie, but it was more grounded in reality versus, you know, any of the other Gilliam stuff that he was doing.
Sure. Yeah, definitely different.
Yeah. And, I mean, you really felt for his character. And
Man, 91, dude.
yeah, I know.
Think about that. That
Tell
was the
me
same
about
year
it.
Hook came out.
God damn,
So
dude.
he was dominating.
Dominating the box office, man. Well, The Fisher King was another Gilliam movie that was great, well received by critics. Jeff Bridges was fucking tremendous in that movie.
That's a great movie.
Mercedes Ruehl was awesome. Then fucking what's her name? Honey Bunny. She was fucking weird in that movie.
She's weird in every movie.
Yeah, I know, right? But I mean, that was a big dramatic turn for everybody's career at that point, because it was so poignant and so like real.
Right.
You know, I mean, he would go crazy after his wife got shot, but Robin Williams killed it in the way that he was funny in it, but yet also you were just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is really happening.
Right.
This is real. And then, the fantasy scenes, that was Gilliam, but at the same time, he grounded it with, and that, to me, I think, he was really in top form with that movie. This movie right here probably taught him, hey, I don't need that big of a budget. I don't need $46 million to make a fucking great movie. No. And then The Fisher King was made by the same production company, I think, or something like that.
Oh, I'm not
which
sure.
was weird because they had so much fight, and then somehow it was like a spin-off, a subsidiary or something like that of it. Subsidiary. But I fucking, this movie always left an impression on me, and I even screened it. I'm going to say that from now on. Whenever I say I watched it with other people, I screened it for my family during Thanksgiving, and everybody was like, "What the fuck is this?" Because I was trying to think of something that everybody could enjoy.
Sure.
The teenagers, my sisters or my sister-in-laws, my brother-in-law, everybody. I was like, you know what? This would probably be a really good movie. It's a fun, whimsical, it's not necessarily a holiday movie, but I mean, it's fun enough to where you can almost tell a person if they really do enjoy it. You can tell where they're at.
Right.
But I think about a quarter way through it, everybody was leaving the room and shit.
So I think I've told you this in the past. My brother and I had this great system for like when we had Thanksgiving or Christmas together. Whenever we had it at my house, we would always put on something like Monty Python and Quest for the Holy Grail after everybody ate, and then all the females would fall asleep. And then we would turn it off and we'd play video games.
Nice.
That's how we had all seen them.
Strategic and tactical. I like you.
Well, my brother-in-law, I think he was the only one that actually finished watching it with me, and then maybe my nephew, I think he did. But everybody else was like, what the fuck are you watching? I'm like, this is Baron Munchausen. It's like my Buckaroo Banzai litmus test. You know what I mean? For the whole family, I'm like, oh, let's watch Buckaroo Banzai. And people are like, what the fuck? All right, this is a fucking great movie. John Big Booty.
If you don't like Buckaroo, I don't like you.
I don't like you. Just this movie just really taught me a lot about movies, just in how great it was.
Yeah.
It's always been one of those movies that I think I'll always look back on and remember the G.I. Joe time period in my life. You know what I mean?
It's funny that we talked about this, I think, on the first episode in this trilogy. I had no idea that this was a trilogy. I knew they were all Terry Gilliam movies. I liked them all.
Yeah.
Brazil is a big one for me. I think we talked about it. I watched Time Bandits a lot when I was younger. Baron Munchausen, I've seen it a lot of times. But once it was said it was a trilogy, it was like the blinders came on. I'm like, oh, of course it is.
Yeah, I know.
What?
I had no idea until we were doing the research for Time Bandits.
Exactly.
That it was an actual trilogy, and thinking, damn, just like with The Thing. I didn't know that was a trilogy until you look at it from that perspective after you've watched it so many times.
Right.
And like you said, the blinders are off. You're like, holy shit, this fucking does make sense. I'm totally fucking on board with this. And I know Gilliam is very, very political these days. Not in the way that it's overtly political, but he's a very big proponent for the shit that goes on. Just like Ralph Steadman.
Yeah.
Ralph Steadman is a huge artist. He's the guy that did all the stuff for all the Thompson's books and everything like that. And he was the inspiration for a lot of the Gilliam stuff, So I do keep watch on a lot of that stuff because that's the stuff that really influences me a lot just in my life. Just like Jello Biafra, things like that, right?
Sure.
And Gilliam is one of those people that I will listen to their opinion, I think, more than most people out there. And just something that he has left that impression on me, and especially in his movies, to give me perspective on the world. You know what I mean?
Sure.
To open my eyes and be like, yeah, I'm not really going. There is whimsy in it.
Well, of course, but it also lets you see some of the underlying things.
Yeah, and it's not overt.
Right.
It's like George Romero. Romero was always the person that showed me, the underlying undercurrents of different things, you know, and if you paid attention to that, you know that the Dead trilogy is a trilogy. You got Night, Dawn, and Dead. Night, Dawn, and Day, right?
Right.
But then whenever you do look at them as that trilogy in the way that the context, again, contextually relevant today, then you're like, holy shit, fucking these guys were really subversive, but at the same time overtly subversive.
I love that everybody that works with him is like he's a madman.
Yeah.
You know, Eric, I think, I don't know if we said it we talked about it a little before the podcast. There was a couple quotes out there. One of them was, up until Munchausen, this is Eric Idle, up until Munchausen, I'd always been very smart about Terry Gilliam films. You don't ever want to be in them. Go and see them by all means, but to be in them, fucking madness.
Yeah.
But Sarah Polley was 9 years old, and she said it was like very traumatic. Like there were explosions, it had to be in cold water all the time. It was like a super traumatic experience for her filming that movie.
Yeah, and for one of her first films too, you know, and I think that's why she stuck with the more independent films afterwards too,
right?
Because they were a little bit more low key, and this was a huge movie,
right?
And she is a great actress in everything that she does, but you really don't see her as much. Which whenever she popped up in the Dawn of the Dead, I was like, holy shit, that's Sarah Polley from fucking The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, right? I knew her from that movie.
Nice.
You know, and that's one of the draws that I was like, oh, okay, well, that's weird. I've never seen her in anything else, you know? Just like Uma, too. I mean,
it's amazing that, you know, the way this all worked out with this movie is very much the Baron Munchausen thing. Like, as far as like all the back behind the scenes stuff, you know, like they did, you know what I mean? It was like a big joke. Like, here, we spent $48 million to make this movie, which is one of the most expensive movies out there, but we're only going to make 117 prints. You know what I mean? So it was very much a Baron Munchausen thing to do.
Yeah, it totally fit with it 100% with the legend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it really did kind of, I don't know, art imitated real life, or life imitated art.
Or art imitated art that imitated life.
That imitated pickles.
Pickles. Because pickles.
Well, you know, I mean, that's why I wanted to have you on here too, Sean. It's just a little bit more of the backstory of Baron Munchausen. You know, and it's just one of those things that I haven't really done a lot of research on. You know, just that back part of it, because I know that it's such a huge, long story. Now, everything kind of goes back to that hero's journey type of deal, too.
Oh, of course.
This one does kind of flip the script a little bit, you know, and kind of over-exaggerates while the dude is still alive.
Right.
You know, so it's not a legend whenever the legend is still living.
I actually have a copy of this book from like the 30s. So if you'd like to read the book, you could. I would let you borrow that.
Nice. It's almost, these are, I never knew about this story until like 20 years ago or something like that, you know?
Right, sure.
I didn't even know it was a story. I just thought it was a movie, you know?
Gotcha.
Just pulled out of the cinematic libraries. Here's a nice story for you, folks.
Here's a good movie. And I was like, what? Yeah. So like I've always said, I'll give a Terry Gilliam movie my undivided attention.
Yeah.
Every time. Yeah. Every time I watch one of them, I think that, you know, you put him in the pantheon of my favorite directors, he's really obviously there.
As we talked about before, you know, on previous episodes, he just does so much with the screen. There's so much that fills the screen when in every movie that he directs. It's just amazing. I love all the. It's weird because there's a lot of battle scenes.
Yeah.
But in the explosions and all that, you know, there's a lot of that going on. But really, it's not. That's not what I'm talking about. It's like all the backgrounds and everything it's just he fills it completely up with things going on.
There's very few.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot of people that do that, but there's very few people that do it effectively.
Exactly.
And I think that has influenced me personally in my art or anything like that too, because I like to have everything so busy. And there's a lot of things that I've done that most people are like, why did you make it so elaborate? Mainly my wife, she's like, you know, you can't just have one thing on there.
No.
I'm like, no. But that's the thing. And I think Gilliam is one of the major influences on any kind of my art. If I really just sit there and think about it right now, because it really does make sense. Because like you said, every single part of that screen is filled with something that you
Absolutely.
can concentrate on at any time.
Which is the opposite of the way that I do art. I try to do the least amount of work for the most money. So this is like blue dot with red line through it.
Hey, you know what? That's effective.
Yeah.
And you know, like Winston Smith, the artist, the collage
Thank you for
artist.
your 30 gur.
Yeah, he uses a lot of things in his collage art.
Sure.
I mean, and puts it together in this way that you're like, holy shit, that's a fucking classic painting. You know what I mean? But it's really not. Right. And then there's so many things that have influenced me that way. And Gilliam is a major part of my life. Going all the way back to when I was a kid, you know.
Off the Gilliam subject, I was actually in when we were talking about art, so I'm just going to digress a little bit. I was able to share some Ramel Z art over this weekend with a friend of mine that was unfamiliar. And she thought it was super cool. Like, yeah, she was just mind blown.
See, look at Ram's art too, man. Ramelzy's art is fucking fantastic because not only does he use those colors, and he should be the only one that ever used those colors, you know, the fucking neon glowing everything, you know, hot pink and fucking hot green and shit. He's the only one that's actually done really cool with them, except for the slap bracelet companies. But yeah, I mean,
people that make beach clothes.
Yeah. Jams. That's our new sponsor, by the way, too. We're sponsored
brought to you by the temperature-controlled Z Cavarici shirts.
Oh, Hypercolor.
That was it, yeah.
We are sponsored by Hypercolor and Jams now. And that's fucking awesome.
Hell yeah.
Jams, the shirt that will always show your pits. Or no, yeah. Hypercolor, yeah. It'll show the heat under your arms.
I always thought that was so cool. You'd put your hand on it.
Yeah.
And then you'd have a handprint.
Damn. And you even broke out Z Cavarici.
I know.
Damn.
I know. Taking it way back. Well, with that,
thanks to our sponsor, Jams.
And Z Cavarici Hypercolor.
Z Cavarici Hypercolors. I love talking about this stuff because it really does kind of open my eyes once I think about it.
Absolutely,
it's really good.
Like I said, going through this experience, it was really cool to find out about the trilogy, and that opened my eyes to a lot of other things that I didn't realize were going on across the three films. Other than them being Gilliam films, I've never connected them in any way. So that was kind of cool to see a connection there that I hadn't seen.
Yeah, right.
Kind of like a tapestry being woven across 8 years of time.
Exactly.
With the one weaver showing birth, death, midlife crisis,
and rebirth.
Being stuck in an Orwellian 1984 world, as well as a fantasy of time travel, and then pure fantasy and whimsy with Baron von Munchausen, a story of 200 years ago.
Right.
You wove the tapestry that he is presenting, and thank you for that, because now you've reintegrated
Invigorate.
Thank you. See, now I help you. You help me.
You guys are great together.
Yes.
You make one awesome English student.
I learned me a book. Okay, I go and learn me a book.
I used to read the dictionary.
But I want to go back and look at Time Bandits again. I want to, because Brazil. It's when I saw that film, it was like, wow! It was almost like Metropolis.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yes.
You know, I could see Fritz Lang's ghost going, "Ah ja, sehr gut, ich verstehe. Ja, das ist ja gut, ne?" Okay.
It's like the old masters had a huge influence on these guys, you know, to see something like that.
Sure.
And especially like Brazil was phenomenally over the top.
Brazil is my favorite of the three. I love them all. They're all great movies. But, you know, we talked about Brazil before on the last episode. I had seen it before, but something really connected with me with that movie when I was working at the Department of Revenue.
You know, I can see why.
Bureaucracy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's that and probably acid, but whatever.
I was going to say, are you growing fungi in the back room? You know.
Maybe then. Who knows?
Well, the back closet had all that paper just,
exactly
there.
Yeah.
So you could grow something there.
No, I love all of these movies, and like you said, I mean, it's just one of those. It's a huge influence in informative years of somebody's life to see somebody actually expand the things for you, and kind of make it worth it. You're like, damn, that's really cool. I mean, we've lived through a really cool time period between the 80s, 90s. And then again, you got to say generationally too, like you said, you were 18 years old whenever you watched Time Bandits, right?
Yeah, 18.
So you think 18 years old at that point, and then me and Dan I was not in diapers anymore, but at the same time, I was pretty young. Yeah. Dan was a little bit older, I mean, we all have these different perspectives, but at the same time, it kind of is the different stages of life. So now looking back at it, you get to see how much influence these things have on you. Absolutely. And influence they have on the world. And these are the stories. These are our modern day fairy tales, modern day books, modern day everything. We have the silver screen, and the silver screen is still amazing people. Whenever people can get in there and do the things that Terry Gilliam or a Stanley Kubrick or a fucking George Romero or John Carpenter can get in there and shake things up, we should appreciate that more.
Absolutely.
100%.
I think we do.
I think that we do that now.
Yeah.
Let me explain. Jordan Peele made a movie. Now he makes every movie. Taika Waititi, who I like a lot, made a great movie.
Now he makes
every movie. Yeah. That's what we do now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
You don't need to do that. See, I mean,
I don't disagree with you.
Fuck. It's like Kanye West said, Get Out is about him. He really said that was an autobiographical movie.
Was that part of his presidential campaign?
I think so.
Awesome.
And that's where we're at in these times. We got a fucking rapper that wants to become a president that says that a fucking fictional movie is about him, is an autobiographical tale of fucking intrigue and bullshit.
That is a sad social commentary.
Oh my God.
It really is.
But see, that's what we need. We need more people taking a fucking risk. We need more people taking a risk with movies and taking a risk with literature and everything.
Agreed.
And instead of being, let's redo it. Fuck that.
Oh my God. another redo of a movie that's been done 12 times before.
But again, that's just, it keeps happening. It's not like that's new.
No.
We've been remaking movies and books and everything since the film industry started.
Yeah.
That's all we've done.
Well,
and don't get me wrong that there's been original movies. I'm not saying that. But it's, probably 70-80% of the stuff out there comes from either another source or another movie or another,
Yeah.
Either an offshoot or a rehash.
Yep.
And
I'm not taking it back to the, not breaking it down to like the hero's journey.
Yeah.
But I mean actually retelling the story.
Yeah.
Whether that's, like I said, from a book or from an earlier movie or from a silent film.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be. That's a lot of what we get is the same regurgitation of shit. The Thing.
Yeah.
We would have never got The Thing had they not regurgitated. It came from outer space, which came from the books from the 1920s. Who's
Joseph Campbell?
Yeah, but what's the book?
Was it Joseph Campbell?
I think you're right.
He's the one that did. Who Goes There?
Who Goes There? That's it. That's I couldn't think of the name.
But Baron Munchausen is an old book too.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that came out in the late 1700s.
Yeah,
1780 something or other.
The Wizard of Oz. I think that if you were to remake movies, you remake them because the technology has gotten to the point where it's better.
Which is why we have Marvel movies now and
the new Planet of the Apes movies,
which were awesome,
fucking great for every time period.
Absolutely.
And then in 20 years they could remake them and they'll still look fucking cool. But I think we've almost reached a limitation of the expansion of what you can see. It finally looks real. Right. A lot of the shit looks
CGI,
real. So
de-aging, the whole deal. Yeah,
that's where our limitation was until they start bringing back people that are dead. 100%. Because they already did that with Peter Cushing.
Didn't they do that with Tupac Shakur in a hologram?
Yeah, that don't matter.
That doesn't matter.
Okay, the hologram shit don't matter. But Peter Cushing in fucking in the Death Star movie, whatever the fuck that was.
What was the Death Star movie?
Yeah, Star Wars Rogue One.
Yeah, was it Rogue One.
And he looked fucking legit.
Yeah,
but
he did.
He wasn't perfect.
Right.
Until Princess Leia's potato face came on there, and I was like, fuck this. That fucking killed it for me whenever that showed up. But honestly,
they're saving more of that for Rogue 2.
Yeah. But see, and that's the thing. I think, you're going to remake something when it's technologically more advanced.
Right.
Like they tried Total Recall too soon.
Right.
Wait.
I didn't. Full disclosure, I never saw the remake of Total Recall.
Sucked.
And I had no desire to see
Colin
it.
Farrell can't fucking act his way out of a fucking fart.
He's going to be the Penguin in the new Batman movie. It's all right. They're having 17 villains, so it'll be like Batman on Ice.
So it's a circus. It's a Batman circus.
Hopefully not. It's supposed to be more of a detective story, but we'll see. It just seems like one of those things where they're introducing a lot of people. However, they are going to have an HBO Max television show called Gotham PD that will be fleshing out that universe as well.
Damn.
Oh, joy.
Oh, well,
So
thank you,
that's-
AT&T.
Yeah, there you go. Ding, ding, ding.
Connecting your world.
Connecting where in the toilet?
Yeah, pretty much. They're gonna run it down. Yeah. I don't know what we have. I don't know what we have planned for the future. I know that's something that we're going to talk about, but I know we do have a lot of good stuff planned in the future. And especially when it comes to movies, I have a whole bunch of different ideas for this. So we might do another trilogy. You know, we might not. But
Bringing us back to the dropping deuces, dropping traces.
I think we might need to do some more deuces. There's some more deuces out there that we could do.
There's a lot of deuces.
I do enjoy the deuces.
Yeah.
I feel like refreshed after I do a deuce.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, because it kind of
a good
purges.
feeling.
Yeah, I feel a little bit lighter.
Yeah, it purges it.
A little more spring in your step. You know, something nice. Something like a nice spring day.
Maybe we do Halloween 2, Child's Play 2, fucking Nightmare on Elm Street 2, fucking a horror deuce.
I could do a horror deuce, but man, that's pretty mainstream dropped culture right there. I don't know. We'll talk.
Child's Play 2, yeah.
Child's Play 2 I could see.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, is it Return of the Killer Tomatoes bad?
No.
Okay.
Sure?
I think we're fine.
Yeah, I think we're good. We wouldn't be able to get through that one. But yeah.
Is it House 2 bad?
That was a great movie, so watch your mouth.
I think he told you what he thought. Right then and there.
Well, Sean, thanks for coming out again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime.
On this beautiful
anytime you're
Sunday
available.
evening.
It's a rainy Sunday Manitou evening.
Yeah.
And I found all the breadcrumbs from the office to here.
Nice.
Perfect.
Nice.
And it worked.
It worked. I mean, hey, I just followed the smells.
Yeah. Hey, thanks again to all of our friends out there too. Not for Everyone podcast. God, anybody that just comments on any of our stuff, sends us those emails, and especially thanks to the company that produces jams, jams.com.
And Mr. Z Cavarici himself.
Yes, yeah. Mr. Z Cavarici for the new sponsor. And don't forget our other sponsor, Somali Ink Pirates.
Yes.
So I mean we're kind of going big time now, you know, with all the sponsorship. Sock It To Me is always one of my favorite.
My lunchbox that smells like bologna with pre-smells.
Yeah, from Lunchboxes R Us.
Smell-o-vision.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I think they've even
this movie is presented in Feel Around.
Oh yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's our next venture though, is scratch and sniff cards for everybody that listens to the podcast.
I thought you were going to say we were going to do Kentucky Fried Movie.
No. Scratch and sniff cards. Smell-o-vision.
I'll go with both.
Smell-o-vision.
So when you're listening to the podcast, you could take the little scratch and sniff and be like,
Oh, this smells like shit, just like this episode.
and it'll be the episode that can never end because we don't know how to fucking end a podcast.
Yeah, so with that, hey, hit us up on www.dropculture.com. You can send us an email at dropculturepodcast@gmail.com. Catch us on the socials at Drop Culture Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
God damn, there's a lot of drop culture.
Yeah,
shit out there,
at Drop Culture on Twitter.
Yeah, go to the website.
The website's the way to go, man, because you can message us directly. There's a bunch of hidden little links in there.
There's links. There's
Easter eggs. There's we have a Friends of the Show page with quite a few folks on there. So check that out. I mean, just check out everything. You can also check out some merchandise.
Yeah,
get you some Drop Culture merchandise.
Stickers.
If you like stickers, sure.
Hey, if you get one of our stickers, we are officially a sponsor.
This is true, yeah.
Of you personally.
Yeah, we'll shout you out on the show. This show is brought to you by Tina.
It's from the sticker world.
Tina from Macedonia.
And to our good...
We actually do have a shout out to our Macedonia fans.
Oh, nice.
I don't know how you say what is that?
Macedonian?
Is that it?
I think so.
Macedonia. I don't know.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, Macedonian? I
Yeah.
think so.
Macedoniac?
Is that like
No.
an Animaniac?
No, that
Yes,
was...
I think so.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I guess we were upticking in Macedonia.
We were actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well, thank you
picking
guys.
up our percentage.
Yes,
out there.
thank you guys. This is Macedonia. All right, Mitch. Thank you very much for mixing this episode, and we miss you, buddy.
Yes.
Peace. Bow, 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 bow.